Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Appreciate you jumping on. Do me a favor, hit that like and subscribe button. It certainly helps the channel. Today, we are going to hear about institutions coming into crypto and how 2025 could be a big year for institutions. Additionally, we are going to hear how much Ripple donated to Trump's inauguration. The number, quite frankly, is staggering. Anyway, before we get into that news, let's take a look at pricing. Bitcoin sitting at 93,000, down 2%, 2.85% over the last 24 hours. Ethereum sitting at 3,296, also down just a percent over the last 24 hours. Tether at the 3 spot. XRP sitting at number 4, sitting at 215, down 3% over the last 24 hours. And Solana at the number 6 spot, down just slightly in the last 24 hours, sitting at 182. So certainly a drawback happening here. This is natural. Do not get shaken out if you're holding crypto. Hold on. Things are going to come back up. It's just a matter of time. Maybe a week, maybe a couple weeks, but it's going to come back up. Do not fret, ladies and gentlemen. It's coming back up. Let's take a look at some news. First up being from Smoke Dog. He says, yes, the switch is happening right now. International Monetary Fund tokenization panel discussion discussing banks and financial institutions currently tokenizing their assets on the blockchain. The switch is already happening. Take a listen here.
And what you're doing is we're putting together a process framework, a governance framework for banks to tokenize their asset on this network. For example, you can tokenize from money market fund to bonds, to equities, to deposits, and put that representation on the network and allow it to move between two parties. Today in Singapore, almost close to a dozen banks are already productionalizing their asset on the network. Standard Chartered Bank just announced, I think a few months back, they're tokenizing their trade receivables. UBS is tokenizing their money market fund. JPM is tokenizing their deposits. So you can see that switch is happening already. And from a market efficiency perspective, you are dramatically reducing the operational processes out of the system. So we feel that without going into the complex definition of what token is from a legal standpoint or from an academic standpoint, I look at it as pure tech delight, complete tech delight. You take that piece of asset, put it in the network, where you can mix two things, the value of the asset and ownership of the asset into a single piece of token. And if I can get the network governed properly, you can move the asset among ourselves without the need for people to reconcile between databases. That's what is happening in Singapore.
And so you see this as potentially transformative.
Key there, ladies and gentlemen, is he said it's happening now. Banks are starting to tokenize. Now, this is Singapore, of course, so they're a little bit ahead of the U.S., but the U.S., of course, is going to catch up quickly. Moving on here.
And what you're doing is
to Vandell from Black Swan Capitalist. He says he has a new video out. I followed the money and revealed some interesting connections behind Ripple, tech elites, intelligence ties, and global power players. In this video, I'll reveal how it all links together. So I haven't watched this yet. It is liked by Whitney Webb, I noticed here, and she comes out with a lot of information on what the governments are doing. And so I'm going to take a listen to this and report back, but I wanted to let you guys know in case you want to listen to it as well. Vandell is supposed to be coming out with a few new videos here as we end the year and the beginning of New Year. So should be interesting. I will report back on that and let you know what he says in those videos. Coming in from John Deaton, he says, just released the damn report. Eleanor Tourette, he retweeted here, said she just filed a FOAI. I forget exactly what that stands for. It's a FOIA request, basically asking for information, Freedom of Information Act, I believe it is, request for the SEC Inspector General's report on its ethics investigation into the agency's former corporation finance director, Bill Hinman, which an SEC staffer confirmed to me has been completed and issued internally to management. So that will be very interesting to get out, so we can find out more about why the SEC, in fact, did sue Ripple and what was behind it with Director Bill Hinman. We know there was some shady stuff going on. Hopefully we'll find out more here. Good work by Eleanor Tourette, as always. Coming in here from Digital Perspectives, they're retweeting subjective views saying fill in the blank. Where there's smoke, there is, of course, fire. This is a little bit of a longer video, but let's take a listen. We may not listen to all of it, but this gentleman is writing a book on Bitcoin, I think hijacking Bitcoin, but he talks about Tether in this interview. So, and we all know there's potential issues with Tether. So take a listen.
So one of the smoking guns, or what I should say, it's not a smoking gun, it's a lot of smoke that I wish people would look into a little bit more is Tether. So we don't talk about Tether at all in the book. It's not mentioned once, but Tether is a stable coin that is sort of some of the financial plumbing and how money in crypto moves around.
Right.
There is an enormous amount of smoke around Tether. They have admitted, at least on one occasion, that the money that they claim to be sitting in cash is not actually there, and they're making a bunch of promises. Oh, we'll make good on the money, the coins that are supposed to be backed by US dollars. Tether is another one of these tools where if you wanted to run the price up, all you have to do is print up a bunch of tethers. It's a small group of people that have the power to do this. You print up a bunch of tethers, and then you go to the exchanges to buy up the Bitcoin, and the price would go through the roof, especially if you have like an unlimited amount of tethers that you could buy. Now, this is speculation. I don't have hard evidence that this is the case. And like I said, we didn't even talk about this in the book at all. And yet, if I had to bet on it, I would say that is definitely happening in Bitcoin for the purpose of turning it into a pump and up system. Because you can make an unbelievable amount of money by playing those types of games.
Well, Tether is, for example, in the case of Tether, they're framed as like a private issuer of dollars. It's really a public-private partnership at this point. They've onboarded the FBI and Secret Service to their platform, both of which are technically intelligence agencies.
And they're facilitating a lot of seizures and access to information.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
On behalf of the Treasury and being basically a tool of, American government sanctions, and by extension, American foreign policy. And so obviously the dollar stable coins that Tether issues come with a catch, right? They've been very explicit that their goal is to be a great partner for the U.S. government to expand dollar hegemony globally. And there's a lot of efforts from this broader PayPal group and also from Tether, which have, a significant amount of overlap, I'd say, to basically onboard hyperinflating economies in Latin America, some of which are a direct consequence of American government sanctions. You could link a lot of what's gone on in Venezuela, in Argentina, to policies either of the U.S. government in terms of sanctions or to entities like the IMF, which are U.S. dominated. And so, this economic warfare against these economies for now decades is now being used to onboard a lot of the people there to a stable currency. And it is essentially, it's by and large been these dollar stable coins.
Well, don't you think stable coins gives them the power to do much more in the way of sanctions?
Yeah, well, because it's programmable, surveillable, seizable currency, just like, what the concerns around CBDCs are. But those same things exist with Tether and are being utilized that way by Tether. And there's plenty of people, particularly in the Bitcoin media space, who criticize, debt-based monetary system and fiat in general, but are very keen to promote Tether. But it's important to keep in mind too that Tether specifically is morphing to something much more than just a stablecoin issuer. They are now investing in brain-machine interfaces in this company that we mentioned earlier, Satellogic, which is part of this Endeavor network, Howard Lutnick of Cantor Fitzgerald is on the board. The chair of the board is Steve Mnuchin. And then also on the board is the Joint Chiefs of Staff under Trump. So one of the top military officials under Trump is on the board of this Satellogic company that, as we previously reported, is involved in this broader effort to impose a carbon market on Latin America and build out a shared smart power grid between North, South, and Central America. And it really seems like a lot of the overlap between those networks and what's going on in El Salvador. El Salvador has sort of been a beta test for this. It's a dollarized economy that's been cooed by the CIA numerous times, and it sort of seems like it's been a beta test for a lot of this stuff where it's framed publicly as being like, Bitcoin only or Bitcoin adoption, but it has all these ties to other entities like Tether and all.
So there you go. Tether, it seems like is a ticking time bomb. It's just a matter of time until it goes down, but I don't think they're just going to let it fail. There's too much money in Tether. So does some of it get moved to RLUSD? I think so. Not financial advice, do your own research. Does some of it go to USDC? Probably. But Tether, I think the clock is ticking. It's only a matter of time until they're ousted from the states as well.
So one of the smoking guns, or one, I should say, it's not a smoking.
Sorry about that. Smoking gun for sure. Coming in from Bitstamp here, it says XRP is going to make history next year. Bitstamp, of course, putting derivatives on the XRPL. Bitstamp, I believe, getting taken over by Robinhood. So lots happening there for sure. XRP, I do believe, is set up for big things in 2025. Here coming from Crypto Erie, says a lot of people don't understand the full functionality of the XRP ledger. You're going to love this AMA interview. Take a listen to this brief interview here regarding XRP.
So I've been waiting to do this interview for a couple of weeks. Once I asked, I was so surprised the response I got. It's Austin King. He's got an amazing history with the company Ripple, which I want everyone to know about. And he's got something really cool going on with a new launch that he did. So Austin, welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I think a lot of people don't understand the full functionality of the XRP ledger. You could always mint stable coins on this. They were thinking about this like a decade ago. I think a lot of people don't understand that, but it does have functionality like this. So they always kind of had this in mind, but I am very excited to see them stepping in directly with their own stable coin, because I think that, having it powered by the XRP ledger and the backing of the company itself and XRP, the asset, is something that is just holds very high potential for sure.
So there you have it. Another.
So that's really what we're creating with Omni. It's like
another use case for Ripple there. He's saying it's being underestimated. I want to get to this before we close out, but here from Smoke Dog, everything's about to take off. Of course, it's documented. He's talking about instant payments gearing up to take off in the US. FedNow will be the spark. So we know Ripple's working with FedNow. That's going to increase in visibility. And then Vincent Van Code says this is something. It's over. Bank of America, Santander, UniCredit, Standard Chartered, Westpac, and Royal Bank of Canada all joined Ripple to create a possible alternative to SWIFT. Those rumors are continuing to grow, and there's a lot of connections there. And then here, what I wanted to show you is from Bank XRP, Ripple has announced a historic $5 million donation in XRP to President-elect Trump's inaugural fund, setting a new benchmark by matching the largest single donation ever recorded in U.S. inauguration history. This is huge. I think Amazon donated $1 million, and here Ripple's donating $5 million. You would have never thought that possible even a couple years ago. So crazy how there's got to be ties there, right? If you don't just give $5 million to the president inauguration without there being ties, right? Things are getting interesting, ladies and gentlemen, and they're going to continue to do so. Stay tuned for more here, and I'll bring it to you. Do me a favor, hit that like and subscribe button. We will see you on the flip side.